Hey guys, it's again Vandy, and today I've got a kind of different video for you. This video was made for an academic project at my university, so all my sources for this video will be listed in the description below in full APA format. Now let's get into it. How many of you believe that you are a secure person? Or how many of you believe that all your personal information is safe and that your passwords are something only you know? According to some surveys, the average American has at least 80 to 100 online accounts. When you first hear this number, you're probably thinking, nah, I don't have that many accounts. I can only have maybe 10, maybe 20. And yeah, I kind of thought that at first too. When I started to really consider all the websites I visit and accounts that I have for various things like school, work, banking, online shopping, social media, online forums, my old Webkins account, hey, don't judge me. Anyway, the number of accounts that you have to keep track of really start to add up close to that 100 figure. Your first line of defense is your password, but when you have 100 usernames and passwords to remember, that can lead to some really insecure practices. An alarming amount of people use the same username and password, or at least the same password, for every online account and every site that they visit. Hopefully, at least this is obvious, but this is one of the most insecure things you can do. Now, if you are like the average person, you probably have one or two emails that you use for your usernames, and if you are one of those people who are really insecure, you might use the same password for every account that you have. And if you are just downright ignorant, sorry, no offense intended, then this one password that you do have is really short, like it's only 6 characters long, or your password is just password, or your password is 123456, or QWERTY. Now these are really insecure practices to say it at least, and here, give me a few minutes to explain to you why, because there are several reasons. Your passwords for your online accounts can be stolen or cracked in a variety of ways. First of all, let's talk about all the data breaches. There have been hundreds of data breaches over the past few years, and many of them are from websites that you use. Some of the most infamous hacks have affected users of Yahoo, eBay, Equifax, Target, Sony PlayStation, Dropbox, Adobe, and many more. What is significant about these data breaches is that most of the time, the data stolen included the usernames and passwords of millions of people. What is even scarier is that when some of these big companies get hacked, they try to cover it up and don't let their customers know that they have been hacked. You have probably heard of the Equifax scandal by now. If you haven't, it's the biggest consumer credit reporting agency in the US, and it was hacked in June of 2017. It is estimated that over 100 million Americans, or about a third of the US population, had their personal information stolen in the data breach. Equifax then didn't disclose that they had been hacked for several months, most likely to prevent their stock price from plummeting. In the meantime, some of the major stockholders of the company sold a large portion of their stocks in the company. Finally, in September 2017, they revealed that they had been hacked, long after everyone's personal information had already been leaked out there into the wild. This is one of the largest examples of a cover-up for leaked information, but it happens to many other companies all the time. For example, in November of 2017, hackers stole the personal information of 57 million customers and drivers from Uber. Some of the leaked information included driver's licenses numbers of the drivers, and then email addresses, phone numbers, and other info of the riders who are also stolen. Uber handled this in a very bad way. They tried to pay off the hackers with $100,000 to delete the stolen data and to prevent the story from going public. This obviously backfired and is now a major news story, but as this example shows, what other companies have leaked your personal information and haven't let you know? So, if you have had just one account on one website that was hacked, like Yahoo, for example, and you've had your Yahoo account since at least 2013, since that's about the time the hack happened, then your Yahoo username and password has been leaked and is most likely up for sale on the dark web, or it might even just be public knowledge already. If you don't really care about your Yahoo account, this might not be a big deal for you, except it is. If you use the same email and password on other websites like Facebook, Gmail, or your bank, now hackers have your credentials for all those websites too. This is one of the many reasons why it's recommended for you to use as many different passwords for each account that you have online, and why you should change your password to various websites at least once a year. There are many other ways that your password might get stolen, and a lot of them have to do not with tricking large corporations into giving them your passwords, but with tricking you yourself into leaking your own password. One of the most common scams that hackers will use is phishing. Now, phishing is really not a hack per se, it's mostly just pure social engineering. Some of you may have heard of phishing, but you don't know exactly what it is. Now, phishing is when you have been sent a link to a fake website that actually looks like the real website that asks you to log in with your email and password. Often you'll get the link in an email, hence the common name of an email phishing scam. Now, this fake website that pops up in your web browser might look like the real website. For example, one of the most common phishing scams is redirecting users to a fake website that looks like google.com, but it's actually not google.com. It asks the unsuspecting user to enter their Gmail username and password, and once the user has entered their information, the hackers have that user's username and password. Another way hackers may steal your password is through keylogging. This way of stealing information from users is actually becoming alarmingly common, and not in a traditional way. Keylogging, or keyboard capture as it's sometimes called, is when a malicious computer program or even a website records all the keystrokes that you type on your keyboard. So as you can see, not only can hackers steal your passwords this way, they can steal other personal information such as credit card numbers, social security numbers, and pretty much anything else that you would type with your keyboard or on your phone. This could even include a private letter that you wrote to a family member or a friend that you don't want anyone else to see. Now, you might be asking, how do you even get a keylogger on your computer or phone? Now, the answer used to just be that you would get keyloggers through viruses and malware. The most common type of a virus actually is a keylogger. You can get these viruses installed by getting infected from malware, from iffy websites, or even just opening an infected attachment from an email. The keyloggers may be installed silently on your system, quietly spying on you. A lot of people don't realize that they have these viruses on their system. If you don't consider yourself a tech-savvy person, and you've been using the same computer for years, I would highly encourage you to check your system for these keyloggers. One way of combating these is with antivirus programs, but that isn't 100% bulletproof either. Personally, I always just reinstall my Windows 10 operating system every year or so, though that isn't really practical for everyone. The scary thing is, your computer could be totally free of keylogging software, but you could still be a victim to keylogging. How? There is a growing number of websites that are implementing keyloggers directly into their website. Even reputable websites such as Walgreens.com have been caught using a new keylogging software to record entire sessions of their users on their websites. The recordings captured user input such as keystrokes and even the exact mouse cursor movements that the user had during their entire session. The session recording software does not even stop recording input when the user is inputting their personal information such as their username or password or even their credit card numbers. All of the log data is then sent to servers, sometimes third-party servers, to be stored and analyzed to improve future customer service experience, whatever that means. What makes this so outrageous is that these companies doing this are companies that people have trusted in the past. After some of this was exposed, some of these websites pulled the scripts off their websites to stop doing this, and they claimed that they were not aware of the security implications. This is further proof that your personal information can be stolen without you even knowing, even if you follow common security practices. Finally, there is one more way that hackers can easily steal your passwords that I want to talk about. And that is by cracking your password by brute force. For some websites, hackers can simply run a program that guesses your password repeatedly until it finally succeeds. At first, this doesn't sound like much of a concern because you might think that your password is not even guessable because you've made it unique. But for a computer that can guess 1 billion times a second, this can actually be pretty easy, especially if your password is short. There are a few different types of brute force guessing algorithms. Most password guessing programs first guess every word that is in the dictionary and the most common passwords such as password, QWERTY, 123456, admin, incorrect, etc. Specifically, this is called a dictionary attack. The dictionary attack method can guess a password in a matter of seconds or less, milliseconds even, if your password is just a simple dictionary word or a common password in its database that it is checking against. If the dictionary attack doesn't work, then it tries to guess your password by brute force. Brute force attacks guess every possible letter, number, or symbol that your password could be. The shorter your password, the faster it'll crack it. However, if your password is long enough, it may never be able to guess your password in a reasonable amount of time. This is because the function of password length to the time it takes to guess every possible password of that length is exponential. This means that every character that you add to your password dramatically increases the time it would take to guess your password. To get a better picture of this, let's take a look at some data from 2015 on how fast it was estimated to crack random passwords at each link for an average cracking software. For just a 7-character password, it only took an average password cracking program 0.29 milliseconds to guess all possible passwords with a length of 7. However, by just increasing your password length to 8 characters, it took the program 5 hours to guess all possible combinations. Following the function on the graph, we can see that making your password 9 characters long increases that guess time to 5 days, then 10 characters to 4 months, and 11 characters to an entire decade, and 12 characters to 2 centuries. So as you can see, this is why password length is so important. And this is also why you're probably starting to see more and more websites require that your password be at least 8 characters long. However, we can't put our faith in just 8-character passwords for very much longer, and this is all because of Moore's Law. Moore's Law states that the number of calculations per second that an average computer processor can manage doubles every 2 years. This means that in general, the password guessing time of these brute force programs is going to be cut in half about every 2 years, as long as Moore's Law continues. The graph that we just looked at was estimated for 2015, so now in 2017 when this video was recorded, it might only take 2.5 hours to guess an 8-character password, and only a couple days to guess a 9-character password. If Moore's Law continues to be correct, by 2023 it'll take less than 20 minutes to guess an 8-character password, and by 2033 it'll take less than a minute to guess an 8-character password. So how do you make sure that you are following secure password practices? First of all, as we've seen previously in this video, it is important to have different passwords for each site you visit. Secondly, it's important that your password be complex and long enough so that it's not easy to crack by brute force, which is usually at least 8 characters in length right now. But thirdly, you need to have a secure way of storing your passwords in a way that will help you remember your passwords whenever you need them, but not let anyone else have access to them. So if you really want to be as secure as possible, the ultimate solution is to make 30-character long passwords, have them all be unique, consist of random characters, numbers, and symbols, have no dictionary words, and change them every month. And on top of that, never write these passwords down and keep them all in your head. But no, this is impossible for most of you. What you need to do is find a balance where you can follow the most secure practices that you can without affecting your productivity all too much. Now it may sound tedious to have a unique and strong password for every account that you have, but there are some ways to make this easier. Let's consider 5 different levels of password security that I've come up with that you can follow. And by the way, this isn't some well-known model, this is just off the top of my head. At level 1, we have your typical people who use the same weak password for every online account they have. Keep in mind that a weak password is any password under 8 characters, or it only includes a common dictionary word. Right now, this might be most of you. We need to focus on a few practical tips here to at least get you guys off of level 1. If you take one thing away from this video, don't just have a simple short password for all your accounts that are the same password. So, a bit better, let's move up to level 2, where you might have a few semi-strong passwords that you rotate between different accounts. Bonus if some of your usernames or emails are a bit different too. Here at this level, you might have a strong password for your most important accounts like your banking or PayPal, but you still use some pretty weak passwords on your other accounts. Now while this is better than level 1, it is still pretty insecure, because you are reusing the passwords on multiple accounts. So let's move on to level 3, where you have a unique password for every account, but your passwords are still easy to remember. Now you might be wondering how to do this. Well, what you can do is you can make a formula to make a unique password for every account. I used to do this a few years ago, and it actually worked quite well for me. I'll give you an example. For this formula, we will construct a password with 5 basic parts. For the first part of this password, let's start off with the base password. But the first letter will be capitalized. Our base word will be magical. Now after the base word, let's add another word, but this word will be the unique word to each password on your website or account. What I used to do here is just put the name of the website here. And if that's easiest for you to remember, then go with that. Alternatively, you can use a word that the website reminds you of or is associated with. I'll show you what I mean in a second. Then for the next part of your password, pick a random number, but this number can be reused in all of your passwords. I'll pick 21 for this example. Then lastly, pick a single symbol that you'll use at the end of your password. For this, let's just use a hashtag or number sign. So now we have a complete formula that will satisfy all password requirements for both your security and any other security requirements that you may run into on websites. Let's see a few examples of how this formula works for a few common websites. So for example, for Facebook, your password would be magical Facebook 21 number sign. And for Reddit, it would be magical Reddit 21 number sign, and so on and so forth. If you wanted to substitute the name of the website with something like that reminds you of the website, then maybe your Reddit password would be magical monkey 21 hashtag. So as you can see, this is a great method for making long, complex passwords that are both unique to all your accounts and somewhat easy to remember. You can modify this method to your liking, of course. This was just an example made by me. But now, moving on to level 4, and what I consider to be the best option, using a password manager. With the password manager, the previous methods are not even necessary. Password managers store all your passwords that you use in a database, and they can even autofill in your passwords when you need to type them in, so now you don't have to. Some common password managers include 1Password, KeePass, LastPass, though even web browsers like Chrome and Firefox have password managers built into them now. Now, good password managers such as LastPass, for example, not a sponsor, will auto-generate strong passwords for you. You don't even have to remember them, which is good because these passwords that are generated are very long and random. All you need to remember is your master password to your password manager. If you do want to use LastPass, it is available to install and sync on almost every platform available, including as an extension in Chrome, Firefox, Edge, Safari, Opera, pretty much any web browser, or you can just visit the website. But it's also available to install from the Apple and Google Play stores for your mobile devices. This is the method I recommend most, and it is what I have personally switched to doing in the last year or so. 2 words of warning though, make sure that the password manager that you choose is reputable and trustworthy, and that your master password is very strong, and of course that you don't forget your master password to your password vault. And that's about it, right? This is the most secure you can be? Well, we can throw in a level 5 here, where you can make all your passwords at least 30 characters long, and then remember those passwords with your photographic memory. But you guys probably aren't gifted like that, so we'll probably have to stick to level 4 or 3. Really, what you guys need to remember is that no plan is foolproof, and at some point you are probably going to get hacked. The best thing you can do is just prepare the best you can, and follow some of these methods to minimize the damage. It's also important that you change your passwords at least once a year, so that your mistakes from a while ago don't come back to haunt you. Anyway guys, that's about it for this video. It turned out to be a little bit longer than I expected when I first started making it, but I hope you guys learned that your old passwords may not be as secure as you think. Then I hope I've taught you how to make some stronger passwords. As I said at the beginning, this video was made for an academic project in my college, so if you are curious about any of the sources that I cited, full links to them will be in the description down below. Be sure to share in the comments if you have any tips of your own. I'm sure that a few people might disagree with my recommendation of using a password manager, but I thought that this was the best advice to give to average people who just need to do something to increase their security. Thanks for watching till the end. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see some more tech-related tutorials from me in the future, and drop a like if you found this useful.